You are listening to the Booktrospective Podcast, a podcast for all types of books. And even though we read all types of books across all different types of genres, we want to give a disclaimer. Many of our books and a lot of our content sometimes is intended for mature audiences. And we don't believe in censorship, but we do want our listeners to have the opportunity to decide if our episode or podcast is good for them. So with that, let's get into the episode. Hey, it's Dominique.
And Keely.
And you are listening to Booktrospective. And this week we are covering What the Woods Took by Courtney. How do you say her last name?
Gould?
Gould? Like, I was like to say like gold, but the use quiet. Gould. Courtney, girl.
Yeah.
Keely, how was your week?
My week has been okay.
She sounds so unsure.
I honestly am like, I don't even remember what happened this week. So, I mean, obviously it was okay, I guess.
Yeah. I have not done much because I'm in between like semesters, which is great, which is why the podcast was late. Because I literally was like not even on my radar, and then like I was gonna make the Instagram post, and I was like, there's no episode, so there's that. Luckily it wasn't a long episode, so I had to get that up for Tuesday. But I have a list of things I need to do. I'm getting my chicken coop that I'm building so I can get my chickens and try and get my garden started. It's not really moving, but it's cold here still. So, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so do we have the blurb?
Yes, we do. Okay, let me wet my palette. Yellow Jackets meets Girl Interrupted when a group of troubled teens in a wilderness therapy program finds themselves stranded in a forest full of monsters eager to take their place. Devin Green wakes up in the middle of the night to find two men in her bedroom. No stranger to a fight, she calls her foster parents for help. But it soon becomes clear this is a planned abduction. One everyone but Devin signed up for. She's shoved into a van and driven deep in the Idaho woods, where she's dropped off with a cohort of equally confused teens. Finally, two camp counselors inform them that they've all been enrolled in an experimental therapy program. If the campers can learn to change their self-destructive ways and survive a 50-day hike through the wilderness, they'll come out the other side as a better version of themselves, or so the counselors say. Devin is immediately determined to escape. She's also determined to ignore Sheridan, the cruel-mouthed, lavender-haired bully who mocks every group exercise. But there's something strange about these woods. Inhuman faces appearing between the trees, visions of people who shouldn't be there flashing in the leaves. And when the campers wake to find both counselors missing, therapy becomes the least of their problems. Teens quickly realize they'll have to trust each other if they want to survive. But what lies in the woods may not be as dangerous as what the campers are hiding from each other. As the monsters have their way, no one will leave the woods alive. Atmospheric and sharp, What the Woods Took is a poignant story of transformation that explores the price of becoming someone or something new. Bum, bum, bum.
If you could describe this book in one word, what would you say?
Creepy.
I'm going to say chameleon.
Okay.
Yeah. So, this book is my worst nightmare.
Yes.
One time, I had a friend that lived across from these woods, and we went out there, and I thought I was lost for a moment, and I literally had a panic attack. And I can feel it right now. I can feel how I felt. So, there's absolutely no way that I would survive this. Any part of this, actually. I'm not fit. I'm not savvy. I'm not cut out for this. So, we have 5 teens who are all considered by their parents, essentially, bad in some way, shape, or form. We have two main characters, Devin, who's a girl, and Ollie, who's a boy. And so they've been sent to this wilderness therapy. I know, wasn't there like a TV show about that or something? I feel like there was. Anyways.
I feel like there's been a couple.
Yeah.
And I think that for the most part, they're like, don't. Yes, I think there was, and like, it was like bad.
Yeah, I feel like there was at least one that I saw. Like, yeah. So they are, Devin and Ollie are like both from Portland, Oregon. And then there's a girl from San Francisco. I think that's where she was from. There's someone from like Montana, and I can't remember where the other person was from. And they have like two leaders. Like one's more like a mental counselor. The other one's like the nature person, Liv and Ethan. And they are taking them out there. So they're dumped out there basically. And they like, obviously they all like are upset that they're out there. We have some very bad attitudes. And then they start kind of trying to do, like, all of them are participating except for one girl. She's like, I'm not going to participate. She's holding the group up. Like, she would piss me off so bad. Yeah. Because, like, we're not getting out of this. Just come on. Like, whatever. And then their counselors go missing. And then they split up. And then they get back together. And then they split up again. And then they get back together. And then they split up again. And they get back together. So, there's that. But, yeah. So, they're not only are they lost in the woods, and they're supposed to be out there for 50 days, so no one's even looking for them. Mm-mm. And their counselors are gone. Then there's monsters that want their bodies. And you don't know who they are or when and where they are. So, yeah, there's that. Are there triggers? I'm sure there are.
Probably. Let me see. Scroll. I mean, obviously, abduction is a big one. Addiction, death.
Mention child sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
Mention suicide.
Drug use. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some violence. Death.
Panic attacks. Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, without further ado, if you have not read this book, when did this book come out?
This book came out.
I forgot I was even doing that. I'm supposed to be telling you guys that.
This book came out.
See?
I mean, not like super long ago. December.
Oh, yeah, no. I thought it was more recent. So, yeah, this book came out December 10th, 2024. And I was supposed to be doing better, and I'm not, obviously.
Oh. Okay, so this other cover for it, I honestly think I like better.
Oh,
it gives a little creepier vibe to it.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. Where's that? The UK? Probably.
I have no idea. Probably.
Oh. Little bit about Courtney. It says she likes to write books about queer girls, ghosts, and things that go bump in the night. She has a bachelor's degree in creative writing and publishing. She was born and raised in Salem, Oregon. And she continues to write love letters to haunted girls in rural. I cannot say that word. rural. That word is the word I can't say. I can't.
Filet mignon.
Oh, filet mignon?
Yes.
Rural.
You did good.
Rural. I have to say the R. Like, I have to be like, rural. And I sound like Scooby-Doo. Like, what's wrong with me? Rural. If I just say it fast, rural. Okay, sure. Anyways, Empty Spaces. She's also written 2 other books, The Dead and the Dark, and then Where Echoes Die. So, yeah. Okay. So now we're going to get into it. So if you haven't read it, then pause here and come back later. So we open with Devin. She is being sent to this 50-day teen rehabilitation camp. There's
sounds
no
like
camp.
A nightmare to me.
That already sounds like it, but there's no camp. So there's that. Essentially, Devin is a foster. I think she has been her entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she's like living with this family that she thought like was all good or whatever, and these men literally come in her room in the middle of the night to get her, and she like breaks one of their noses or whatever, and like she's like, what is going on? And she realizes that everyone else, because like they have other kids there too, like everyone else knows what's going on, and the foster mom basically says like, we're trying to help you, and they take her out and they stick her in this van, and there's a boy in there, and we'll learn that that's Ollie or Oliver, but he goes by Ollie. He must have been picked up like before, obviously, her. So we switch over to Ollie, and basically, like, he's like, my father, like, gave up on me. Like, he found the pill bottle. And the driver, like, is, like, talking to them in the van, and is, like, basically, like, you know, we know that you guys want to run, but we have permission from your parents to take you to this special camp, basically. And Ollie's like, I mean, is it, like, a rehab? Like, what is this? And Ollie's, like, basically been stealing these pills from his grandmother, who's on hospice and dying. And he's thinking to himself, like, how he was never supposed to take the last pill, and he's not even taking them for himself, and so there's some other reason, like, that he's taking them. And they, like, Devin's like, I need to go to the bathroom, so they stop at a gas station, and, of course, she tries to, like, break out of the window, so then the guy has to go in and get her, and then he, like, Ollie thinks about, like, asking the cashier for help, but then they, like, flash this transportation card, basically, saying, like, we have the right to have these kids, yada, 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 so he doesn't. And so they pull up to this, like, wood entrance, basically, and there's, like, 3 kids sitting around, and there's 2 adults. So back to Devin, they're doing wilderness therapy. They're introduced to the other kids. There is Sheridan, who's a girl, Hannah, who's a girl, and Aiden, who's a boy. And they have 2 coaches. They have Liv, who is, like, basically she does all the physical stuff. And then there's Ethan, and he's, like, their mental counselor or whatever. And basically they're just going to have to hike, camp, and, like, work to get their food and all of those things. Sheridan immediately is making everything difficult. Like, he's like, go around, introduce yourself, where you're from. And Sheridan's like, I don't remember. I don't know. But we learn that, it says she's from Portland. I think she was from San Francisco. I don't know. Anyways, Devin is like, basically like, you know, I'm here, or she thinks to herself like she's here because she got in a fight last week and she wasn't making her curfew. And then they're like, is this when they're, yeah, I think this is when they split up. So then they have to like pair off and like basically talk to each other about why they're there. So that's when she's telling Sheridan that, because of course that's who she gets partnered with. So Sheridan starts making this whole lie, and she realizes in the middle, and she's like, why can't you just freaking like just do it? Like, what, we clearly have no way out of here. And we learn that Devin is almost 18, so she's like just basically waiting to like be 18 so she could be like free from all this. And so by the time the 50 days are up, she will have turned 18. So back to Ollie, he is paired with Hannah, who Hannah basically, like, for the first time, she's only been in trouble once in her entire life. She literally got drunk, went to a party, and she crashed her car. She didn't hit anybody or kill anybody or anything like that. And he's like, your parents sent you here because of that? And essentially Hannah is like, her dad's terrible, and all she cares about is pleasing her dad. Like, that is the only thing that matters to her. It is like very intense. So they like end up hiking a little bit, and they get to like where their camp is going to be, and they're like, here's your campsite. And so they're like, oh, like there's no cabins or anything. And like they're both like, Devin's like, my bag didn't feel heavy, so like I know there's no tent in here. No, they literally lay on tarps and get in a sleeping bag.
Sounds like torture to me, but
I would not make it. There are things in the woods, like normal things, that I don't want to be around. There are bugs. It's June, by the way. Okay. So, where am I at? Anyways, so the next morning, they do have food. They basically have military grade food because they're like in the little packets, and they eat like, because Devin eats like this chicken tortilla soup that's tolerable. So the next morning, like, they make them breakfast or whatever, and Sheridan's literally like refusing to get up. So Liv is like, you guys come with me, and Sheridan will stay behind with Ethan, and they'll catch up later. So we switch back over to Devin, and they get to their next, like, they have a trail, so they get to their next spot. And so since they're waiting, they all pick berries. And Devin has this like flashback about berries and like something in her past, and we learn that she's into girls. And Ollie is basically telling her like he wants them to stay together because like they're both from the same place. And he's like, everyone can tell that you're trying to think of a way to run away like as soon as you can. And he's like, what would be the point of that? Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. You're going to die in the woods, basically. But Devin so Devin's just kind of like, I don't know, like, why would I stay here? All these things. So Sheridan and Ethan end up catching up, and that night, like, their berries were like basically their dessert, and so Sheridan's eating them, and she's like, why would she get to eat them? She literally has done nothing, and she's been like holding everybody up all day. So we go back to Ollie, and it's basically been like a whole week now, and 3 of them get letters. They get letters from their families, which is Aiden, Sheridan, and Ollie. Aiden's, like, his mom sent him. Ollie, his dad sent him. And then Sheridan, like, I think she has both her parents, and they sent her. So Ollie reads his letter, and his dad basically is apologizing and said he made the best choice he could, and he wants them to be a team when he comes home. Sheridan just throws hers in the fire. And Ethan is pissed. He's like, really? But she's like, I don't care. Like, she was like, they don't get to decide if I hear from them. Basically, they sent me here and whatever, which I kind of feel that. But so there's that. So back with Devin, Hannah is really upset because Hannah didn't get a letter, which Hannah has parents. Like, Devin doesn't have parents. Like, Hannah has parents. And literally, this girl's been in trouble one time, and they sent her to wellness therapy and did not write her a letter. And she's, like, falling apart because, like, her dad means the world. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
So Sheridan starts to pick on Hannah, basically saying, like, why do you even care about the family that doesn't care about you? And Devin just, like, loses it. She, like, pushes Sheridan, and she, like, wants to fight. And she punches her in the mouth. So when they make it to, like, their next camp, Ethan, like, pulls her aside. And he's like, you and Sheridan need to talk it out and whatever. At this point, I said, have they bathed?
Right.
And they don't ever talk about the bathroom or bathing. So my answer was no, I'm assuming. So Ethan tries to get Sheridan and Devin to apologize, which Devin's like, why am I being, like, forced to? She's like, I defended Hannah, like, I stood up to a bully. Why am I feel like I'm the only one that's being punished here, basically? And Ethan says, you think that you stood up to a bully, and you do that a lot. And he basically says, like, I know about your past. I know about the fights. He says that her foster parents didn't do this. The state sent you here because the parents from your school wanted to have you expelled and press charges. And then Sheridan all of a sudden switches, and she says to Ethan, like, are you supposed to be telling me her information? Like, isn't that confidential? She's like, are you even a real counselor? And he's, like, pissed. He doesn't say anything. And Devin just, like, is, like, avoiding Sheridan, like, for the next few days. She's like, I'm done with her. Like, I'm not going to do it. So they get to this river, and they have to figure out how to get across. Like, they basically are like, here's a rope, figure out how to get everyone across. So they basically figure out that they need, like, the strongest person who can swim across and, like, hold the line so that everybody can get across. Because it's, like, a wide river, and it's, like, moving fast. And then that person has to bring over the lightest person. So they all figure out that Devin's going to be the strongest and Sheridan is the weakest. And she's like, great. So they get across there, and Sheridan's holding it and with Devin as Ollie comes across. And she literally lets the rope go, so he starts drowning in the water as it starts to take him. So Devin has to jump in and save him. And she gets back, like, gets him across, and she literally picks her up and is like, what is wrong with you? But Sheridan doesn't look scared. Like, she looks, like, intrigued by this. And she's basically like, like, I didn't want to drown too, so, like, I let him go. And so Devin, like, while this is all going on, though, she feels like something is, like, or someone is in the woods watching them. Mm-hmm. Like, she can just feel it. But they all get across and they go somewhere, and they make camp for the night. Everyone goes to bed, and the next morning they wake up and the coaches are gone and the fire is out. And so they're freaking out, but Sheridan and Aiden are like, this is part of the therapy. Like, it's fine, whatever. So we go to Ollie, and he ends up finding, Ethan's bag, and he's like, I don't know what to believe. Like, he's worried, and they're like, maybe the coaches, like, went to a nearby town. So they have like this argument about staying together or splitting up. Aiden still thinks this is just a test, and he thinks they should stay on the path. Ollie says, like, he basically tells them they're in Idaho, and he doesn't think that Devin is right. He thinks she just wants to run away, and that's why she wants to split up, because she was like, she wants to go find a way out of here, or find something. And he says, like, look, the one thing that we do know is that milestone 5, like, on their map is a way out of here, because we were supposed to get picked up at the end of this. So we just need to make it there. So they have the map, and Sheridan looks at it, and she says, there looks like there's something on the map that could be, like, civilization, like a house, a cabin, something like that. And Devin is like, well, I'm going to go there, and you guys can stay on the path. And Sheridan wants to go with her, so they vote, and the girls basically all agree, and Devin's pissed because she doesn't want Sheridan to go with her. She's like, I don't want you to, but that's basically the like only way that she's gonna get to go. So back with Devin, they split up, and her and Sheridan, and like wherever they're going is like 2 days away, and they get like, they're not there yet. So Sheridan's like, I'm tired, like I need to stop, and Devin's pissed. She's like, I could probably make it if I didn't have you with me. And then she notices that Sheridan's bag is huge, because they split up the food earlier and Sheridan took more. Even though there's 2 of them and 3 of the others, she took more of the food. And she's like, we already are like low on food. And she just doesn't care. She's like, oh well, like they'll be fine, whatever. So back with Ollie in that group, Aiden is leading them. And Hannah and Ollie both are like, they don't really know like if there was a right choice. Hannah basically says like, I agreed with Devin because she was going to do whatever she wanted to do anyways, so there was no point in saying she couldn't leave. But Hannah tells Ollie, like, she didn't have to be here. She literally got dropped off at the airport with Liv's phone number. But because she is so, like, desperate to prove herself to her dad, of course she did. But she could have just never went back home. Like, she could have done anything. And then Ollie realizes that they're lost. So Aiden thought that they were following or headed towards a river or something like that, but it wasn't. Like, he was reading the map wrong. And Ollie kind of, like, loses it. Rightfully so, but, like, also, Aiden is younger than them. Everyone here is, like, 16, 17. Aiden's probably, like, 14. And Ollie's pissed, though, because he's like, well, we're going to have to spend, because it's the end of the day. He's like, we're going to have to spend a whole day to go back to where we started just to, like, restart all of this. So it starts raining, and we go back with Devin, and she notices that Sheridan looks terrible. Like, she's like, are you good? But Sheridan starts asking, like, about her sexuality. She's like, are you gay? Are you into girls? Which Devin's like, look at me. Like, she's like, I look like the traditional, like, lesbian, basically. That's what she says. And she's like, she asked Sheridan, like, why did you come with me? And Sheridan says that she has several friends who have been sent to wilderness therapy before, but they always complained about how the counselors literally would not leave you alone. So she said when the counselors went missing, she knew that this wasn't a part of the program, and she thinks that basically Devin has the best chance of living. So she decided to go with her. So they do end up making it to the structure, but it's a burnt down cabin. And Devin starts snapping on Sheridan. She's like, you said it was a cabin. Well, it is. And she didn't say that. She said it could be. It's not like the map said cabin confirmed here 2 days ago. Like, it wasn't anything like that. Like, she's like, it could be a cabin. That's all I can tell you. And Devin knows deep down that she's wrong, but she like just has like this fire in her, and like she just like can't control it when she starts to get mad. And she just like snaps on Sheridan, and she's like, it's your fault. Like, you slowed me down, and she just like is losing it. So back with Ollie, they wake up the next morning, and Aiden's gone, and Hannah is like sick, throwing up. And he's like thinking of how like the last time he was sick, like his dad was actually like nice to him for once, because all they do is fight all the time. And they look and they realize that the fire is out, which is when they realize that Aiden is gone, because his job was to like watch. He was on watch basically. So all of a sudden, Aiden like comes in, and he's like stumbling. He's scratched up, muddy, bloody. But he's smiling, and he's like, I found the trail. Like, I found my way to the trail. But Ollie feels terrible, because he's like, oh my gosh, like I've made him feel so bad. Like, he literally didn't sleep all night. He went and found the trail. And they get on it, and they find a crate, because there were food drops along this trail, but something has like broken into it and eaten everything. And Aiden realizes too that they're missing food because Sheridan took it. And they're all like, something is weird here. And Ollie realizes, he's like, when was the last time any of you heard an animal? Like, it's just like weirdly quiet. Back with Devin, she wakes up because she just went to bed because she couldn't stand Sheridan. And she wakes up and she sees a face in the trees, but the face is wider than the tree. And it's like wrapped around and it's smiling. Mm-hmm. It makes me think of that TikTok filter that like turns you into like the creepy devil smile. That's exactly what I pictured this entire book. Yeah, if you know like that dove, like I don't know what it's called, but it gives you like that weird stretched smile with like the red eyes. That's exactly what I pictured this entire time. And so then she's like, Mr. Atwood, is it Atwood or Atwood? Atwood. I think it's Atwood.
I think so too.
And he's like, Devin. And I immediately clocked what this is, which, spoiler, he's sexually assaulted her. He was her foster dad, and she doesn't say it till later, but you can tell. He, because she talks about how that voice coming in her room and all these things, and she'll talk about it later. So she runs because why would he be in the woods in the middle of the night? And she like runs and she falls and hits her head and passes out. And when she wakes up, she's at the cabin again. And Sheridan's like, where'd you go? Nowhere. So Sheridan finds a notebook, and it's from a man named Josiah Templeton, and he also had been lost in the woods. So she's like, don't have any books, so I'll read this. So Sheridan admits why she's here. And basically she was on drugs, and that's why she's also so like weak and tired, because she is literally going through withdrawal. And that's why the hiking is hard for her. So Devin feels bad. And Devin admits, like, I might have been wrong. And she's like, we should go back and find the group. And then she looks at her wrist and she sees a bruise from the fall last night. So she knows, like, it really did happen. So back with Ollie's group, Aiden is having, like, night terrors now. And Ollie tells Hannah that his dad sent him because he thought he was taking his grandmother's medicine, but he was actually selling them because he wants to try to move out as soon as she dies. He's only staying for his grandmother. And all of a sudden, Coach Liv crashes through the trees, bloody and gashed, saying that, oh my God, I found you guys. So they grab her and they clean her up, and she says that she was attacked at the camp, but then she spent the last week looking for them. And she doesn't know where Ethan is. And Hannah immediately is like, I don't believe her. Like, something's off. And Hannah's like, so how did you get miles away from us? And then why are your wounds fresh if you were attacked like a week ago? So like Liv gets up and like very quickly, she's like perfectly fine. Like she's like crawling into this camp, but then all of a sudden she can like get up and walk. And so then like they notice like she's healing like really fast, and then she climbs a tree. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, like I see a fire over there. Like we should not go that way. Like we don't want to run into anybody. And they're like, why would we not want to run into anybody? Like it's time for us to get out of here. This doesn't seem like it's going well. So Aiden and Hannah like don't agree with Ollie and Liv, because Ollie's like, okay, yeah, whatever Liv says. And they're like, no. And Liv is like, turns to Hannah and is like, well, you can stay behind. What? Oh. So Ollie like writes a note because now he's realized something is off, and he just says, basically, if someone finds this, then help. Why didn't you put your name on it? Like, you didn't put any information.
Right.
Like, what? What?
Send help where? To who?
Who? For what? Like, yeah. Okay. So, go back to Devin, and Sheridan basically says how, like, she thought this program was going to be better because pretty much everyone here besides Devin is, like, a rich kid. And she asked Devin, like, if she wants to talk about her situation. And she says she got in this fight with a girl named Danielle because of something, like, stupid small. Basically, like, I don't know if her and Danielle were, like, kind of cool, or she liked Danielle or whatever. But Danielle's friends were always, like, talking about her. Or so she thinks, whatever. And one day she saw them doing it, and she told them to basically stop talking about her. And then she threatened to come to their houses. And Sheridan's like, maybe like she just liked you, like maybe it was that. And everyone had said after that, like, oh, Danielle's gonna get you kicked out of school. And so Devin just got so mad, she literally went out to this girl's car after school and beat her up. But then she realized it was a setup because the whole school was out there watching and recording her, so they basically had been baiting her all day to get her to go do that. and she fell for it. So she apologizes for hitting Sheridan, and Sheridan says, like, she tells her more about her, and she had a twin named Theta. And basically, her sister committed suicide 2 years ago, and that's kind of when she started, like, using drugs. And so they end up finding another camp, and Devin's confused because, like, how did Ollie and the rest of them, like, make it this far so fast? Like, they're not supposed to be here yet. And she thinks she hears the voice of Mr. Atwood, because he also used to be like, bedtime. And then they find this, like, destroyed deer carcass, and they find the paper that Ollie left, but obviously they don't know that it's from Ollie because he didn't put his name on it. So go back to Ollie. They're still hiking, and Liv is being, like, really pushy. Like, she wants to know all of their personal information, which is new. Like, that wasn't really her job. And that night they, like, set up, and he's on watch, and he's like, great, like, I'll be alone. But of course Liv stays up and sits with him. And she asks him, like, did your dad hit you? And, like, what are you afraid of? And he's like, no. And he's like, what if I can't be fixed? Like, what if I go home and it's the same? And Liv says, you can't be fixed. And he's like, what? And he starts to feel scared. And she says, tell me the version of you that your dad would want. And she says, do you think that your father deserves the son he wants? Or is your dad a bad person? And, like, Ollie can hear something creeping up behind him, but he can't move. And Liv looks up at whatever it is, and she's not scared at all. And she says, I want to help. And she starts calling him lazy, uninspired, and he literally is, like, frozen. And she says, your grandma's probably already dead, and you'll never have enough money to move out. And then this hand touches his shoulder, and it's a man's voice, and he says, we all tried, and he knows it's his father's voice. And his father asked, like, do you want to become something new? And Liv says, you won't need your body anymore. But then Devin and Sheridan, like, bust into their camp, and Devin's like, move. And it's a creature. It literally looks like his dad, except for there's no head. But then there is a head. It's just, like, got a very long neck, and it, like, droops over to the side.
Very, like, creepypasta kind of.
Yeah. And it's just, like, flopping around. And so Devin jumps on Liv, and the other creature, like, turns into, like, another man that starts talking to Devin, who's probably Mr. Atwood. And Hannah goes to the fire and literally, like, sets the creature and Liv on fire, and they kill them. So go back to Devin, and Devin tells them, like, how they basically, or no, Ollie tells them how, like, Liv turned up and, like, all this stuff about her being weird. And Aiden says, I saw something like that. And they're like, when? And he's like, the night I went to look for the path. He says, I fell down a hill and I woke up on the path. And Sheridan says, I saw something too. She says, I saw someone at the lake when they had went to that cabin that looked like her. And she doesn't tell the other ones about her sister, so they're like, why would it look like you? But Devin knows she had a twin, but she doesn't, like, want to tell her information. And they're like, how do these things know, like, what like, our people look like and dress like? And it's like they hypnotize them so they can't move. And so they're like, we're going to stay here and rest. I don't know how. I will be terrified.
Yeah.
And so Devin goes to talk to Ollie, and he thanks her for saving him. And Aiden just thinks how it's weird that Sheridan knew exactly where to find their camp that night. And, like, Sheridan, like, they thought Sheridan had a concussion, but, like, she seems fine. And they want to know, like, why she said she saw someone that looked like her, but she doesn't tell them. And so Devin starts standing up for her, and they're like, why? Like, why are you standing up for her? So back to Ollie, he pretty much, like, has decided, like, he likes Hannah. He's, like, been liking her. And so they sit and talk, and she does finally admit, like, her dad sucks. He sucks. And back with Devin, Sheridan is reading that journal, and so it's from the 1970s. And the guy is writing in there how he kept seeing people, like, in the woods, but he would call out to them, and they wouldn't help him. And at one point, he thought he saw his aunt. So Devin tries to get Sheridan to, like, make up with the group, but she's like, I don't see a point. Like, they've already decided to hate me. Like, I'm not. And Ollie is, like, still being really suspicious of Sheridan. And Aiden thinks, like, you know, everyone should get to read this journal that she found. But Sheridan's like, I found it. It's mine. Like, no. So then, like, they're just out there for, like, several more days. And then we go back to Ollie, and Aiden says, you know, we're going to be rich if we survive this because we're going to sue them. The company's called, like, Revive or something. And they realize they've been out there for 25 days. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And they got there on June 6th, so Ollie is like, oh, it's July 1st, and Devin realizes it's her birthday. She's 18 now. And they want to have a party for her, and she's like, no, like, I don't want to celebrate. And so Sheridan's still reading in the journal, and basically the man ended up finding like a cabin that's full of like food and beds, and they're looking at the map, and Sheridan notices that there is a fire watch tower that they can probably go to. So Ollie, Hannah, and Aiden had like gone to like find things for Devin, but they run back in and they look super scared, and they're like, get away from Sheridan. And they're like, she's trying to sabotage us. And they're like, give us the journal. And basically, they found a bunch of burned journal pages, and they assume that she's hiding something. Okay, so back with Devin, she's like, I don't remember Sheridan, like, ever leaving the camp. But now she's thinking about it, that the last few hours do feel hazy. So they get the journal, and there are pages missing. And the last page before, like, the pieces are ripped out says, the man basically, like, started calling the things mimics. And, like, kind of like he was putting it together. So Devin keeps defending her, and they want to vote on whether or not she's normal or not. So it's a 3-1 vote, and they tie up Sheridan, and they tell Devin, like, something's off, she's different. Like, before you guys left, Sheridan wouldn't shut up, she wouldn't apologize, she was super nasty, and now she's not. And Devin goes, like, they basically, like, put her in this, like, bubble where she can't see and, like, have her tied up. And she removes her blindfold, and she's like, tell me, like, are you or are you not, like, one of those things. And Sheridan just says, like, I'm not. And Devin still wants to go to the watchtower. So she tells the group about the tower, and she's like, I believe Sheridan. And she says, I think that me, Sheridan, and Aiden should go, and you, Ollie, and Hannah should stay on the trail. And they're like, why would Aiden go? And she's like, because he distrusts this whole thing the most, like Sheridan. And so that way he can realize it's really her. And then Aiden brings up how she took the food and basically says, like, she was trying to sabotage them so that they would die. And Devin just keeps trying to squash everything. And Sheridan's like, why do you keep defending me? Like, what's wrong with you? And Sheridan's like, you're the one that's changed, not me. But then Aiden hears something, and they feel like they're being surrounded. And they're, like, out picking up wood. So they're like, let's go back to camp. So they run back to their camp. Which, I don't know why that would make a difference, because they can still get to you there. But, okay. So back with Ollie, it's just, like, so quiet because they end up splitting up, and it's just him and Hannah. And they talk about their futures, and Hannah asks, like, will future you have a girlfriend? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, I don't think I'm going back home. And they end up getting to, like, a river or something like that, and they get in the water, and Ollie tells Hannah that, like, you know, he's proud, or no. Yeah. No, yeah. Ollie tells Hannah that he's really proud of her because she's kind of, like, gotten stronger, like, just, like, mentally, physically over the last few weeks. And then, like, she suddenly gets, like, real awkward, and then she just gets out of the water. So back with Devin, they do, in fact, find the tower. So Sheridan was right this time. And inside it, there's, like, a bunch of canned food, and there's beds. So, like, yes. So we switch back to Ollie, and they are seeing a deer, and they're like, we're running out of food, like, we don't have a choice, like, we're gonna have to kill this thing. And he has, like, a spear, and he's, like, thinking about throwing it, but he looks, and there's a freaking mimic in the tree, and it, like, starts licking its lips and, like, smiling, and it's like his head is, like, just, like, drooping to the side. And Hannah's like, you know, we shouldn't run, like, I don't want to run. I want to do it. We need something to eat. So he throws a spear and obviously misses, because I was like, there's no way he's going to kill this thing with a spear. So of course the deer runs. So he goes to get the spear, and the mimic literally starts, like, oozing out of the tree. And it starts turning into his dad. So Hannah literally jumps on it and starts, like, stabbing it. And they run, but, like, the thing doesn't die. And then when they get away, Hannah kisses him. And he's, like, so happy. And then he realizes that this cross necklace that she's always worn is gone. So back with Devin, they're sleeping in this thing, and Sheridan, like, wakes her up. and she has a knife, like, basically, and she's like, why are you different now? And she wants to know, like, where she went that night at the cabin, because she keeps, like, she pretended that she had never gone anywhere, and Sheridan pretended, like, okay, yeah, you never went anywhere, but she's like, I know you were gone. And she's basically like, she still hasn't told anybody that she saw anything because she doesn't want it to be true. And she's like, I saw something. And Sheridan's like, well, then why wouldn't you have said that? But then Sheridan kisses her, and they start making out, but then it gets real quiet. And they're like, oh no, Aiden. And they hear him talking to someone. And he says, I don't know what to do. I keep messing things up. And then they hear a guy talking to him, and he says, I know, I've been watching you. And they see the fire is, like, almost out. So they run outside, and Hayden is literally, like, on the ground being hypnotized. And the mimic is like a boy, but then he shifts into Mr. Atwood again. But Sheridan comes out and, like, shoots the thing with a flare. So it catches on fire. Oh, no, that's not when it catches on fire. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it catches on fire, but it's not enough to, like, kill it. So it shifts its attention to Sheridan, and it shifts into her twin. And Devin ends up being able to burn it because they have, like, a lighter. So Aiden tells them, like, you know, the mimic had turned into his best friend. He basically, like, never had any friends, but he ended up being friends with this guy who was a junior. He's a freshman, and he just basically wanted to be cool. And he had, like, been taking his mom's Adderall, I think, like, for schoolwork, but then he started taking it, like, because of how it just made him feel when he was around his friends. And his mom found out, and he wasn't supposed to be doing it, but he kept doing it. And so one day at school, he had taken it, and he literally, like, had a seizure, like, while he was talking to his friend. And after that, he was in the hospital, and then then he was sent here. So he's like, I don't know if they're still friends with me. Like, they probably think I'm lame, like, all these things. And that's why he's here. And so Devin and Sheridan, after that, like, they're, like, sitting on, like, the porch to this place, and they're like, we don't have to talk about the kiss, basically. But Sheridan says, like, these things don't know our people, because the mimic had said to her something about being cold, and she said, my sister never knew that, because she had wrote her sister a letter after she died saying how cold it was now without her, and that she basically wanted to join her. Sheridan realizes, like, the whole thing with Mr. Atwood, and she basically puts it together without Devin saying it, because Devin keeps trying to play it down like it wasn't that big of a deal. But Ollie is like, or they basically decide, like, they're all going to test each other. So they put the lighter to their hands, because the mimics, like, catch on fire like paper, like, as soon as you touch them. So they all put the lighter to their hands, and obviously none of them burn. So they're like, we need to go back and find Ollie and Hannah. So as they're leaving, Devin tells Sheridan about Mr. Atwood. She's like, you know, she's never told anyone, like, not a counselor or anybody. She was the only kid he had at that time. He seemed very normal at first. But obviously he started coming in and assaulting her. And so she basically started acting out to get transferred from him. And she's just kept doing this because she's never processed what happened to her. So they go back and they make it back to Ollie and Hannah. But Ollie looks terrible, and Hannah's not there when they get back, but then Hannah comes in with, like, water, and Ollie just, like, gets quiet, like, real weird. And they realize, like, they still have 30 days, so it's only like July 6th or something. And Ollie tells Devin, like, they walk off or whatever, and he's like, I'm suspicious of her, basically. And Hannah is, like, being, like, weird, like, she's, like, doing something with the water, but then she, like, real quickly moves and, like, doesn't make a sound, like, real weird. And so they tell them about the lighter test. They're like, well, you know, we should do that. And Hannah's like, why would we do that? And they're like, oh, like, you know, because they didn't believe Sheridan, da-da-da-da. And so, like, everybody does it. And they're like, okay, Hannah, your turn. And she's like, I don't think we should do that. And they literally, like, try to, like, put the flame to her, and she literally attacks them. She breaks Aiden's ankle, knocks Ollie out, and punches Devin in the nose, and steps on Sheridan's hand and breaks her fingers. Like, it is so bad. And then Devin is like, she runs into the woods and she grabs the lighter and runs. And so Devin's like, like, you're not getting away from me. And then Ollie chases after her too. But he basically, like, doesn't get far until, like, he's, like, completely knocked out. So they get back to camp and they are able to capture her and tie her up. But something's wrong with Ollie. He's got more than a concussion. He's, like, got some brain damage, and he's just, like, dazed. And Hannah wakes up and she, like, first she's like, oh, like, what happened? Like, she's trying to be normal. And Sheridan says how, you're the only person who never said you saw anything. And Hannah, like, starts crying, but it's not normal. She's literally, like, screeching like an infant, and they're like, be quiet, because they think she's trying to, like, signal to, like, other mimics. And Devin thinks how, like, Ollie does not look good, and they need to get him out of here. So they're still, like, trying to do the lighter test, and so Hannah finally admits that she is a mimic. And they're like, where is Hannah? And she's like, Hannah's here and not here. And she says, basically, I'm being her because I want to leave the woods. And they're like, well, can you just shift into somebody else? And she's like, no, I can't do that anymore. So she says she made a deal with Hannah, and she's like, I can make a deal with you guys. And she's like, I'll get you out of here safely if you agree to let me go when we get there. And they're like, no. And they're like, why do you want to go anyways? And she's like, well, the mimics will kill me because I've killed them. And she's like, I'm not saying anything else unless you make a deal with me. So they're like, we'll just wait her out then and leave her tied up here, and till she breaks. So they literally stay there for 3 days. Ollie is starting to feel better, like more himself. They end up finishing the journal. The man basically dies. He had a wife. He never makes it home. He didn't even have, like, the energy to try anymore. Like, he just feels trapped in his cabin. The mimic comes every night, like, looking like different people. And, like, the last time he came, he looked like his wife. He's basically like, I'm just writing this journal in case anybody else finds it. And he says how fire kills them, and he hopes the fire kills him too, because tonight I'm going to invite the mimic inside. And he obviously does, and that's how that cabin got burnt down. So Ollie is sick of this, and he, like, jumps at Hannah with the fire, and he's like, I'm not dying in here. Start talking. So she does. She says Hannah is dead. She's been dead for 3 weeks. The night that Aiden left the camp to go looking for the trail, that's when the mimic came. Because he saw a mimic, and that was this Hannah mimic, and that's how he got back, because the mimic led him to the trail. And then came to Hannah. And Ollie's, like, devastated. He's like, I've been liking this mimic. Hannah literally went to, like, bed next to me that night. And that's, yeah. And the mimic's like, I didn't want to be Aiden. Like, she's like, we all have been watching you all and, like, arguing over who we're gonna be. Like, some of them want, like, the strong one or the smart one or all these things. But she's like, I wanted Hannah. She's like, Hannah was the closest to giving up. And Ollie's basically like, you just break us down so that we'll give ourselves to you. And Hannah's like, you came into our territory. And they realize it was the river. When they crossed the river, they came in. But they've been by the river this whole time. So they're like, we could just cross out of it. But they realize they're going to have to split up again because they're not all going to be able to make it. So Devin and Sheridan decide to go. And Ollie is like, this was just all a lie. Like, I thought this person liked me, all these things. And this Hannah is like, you've actually known me longer than you even knew her. And he's like, I don't want to talk to you. And she's like, but she realized, like, that's how Hannah knew to throw the fire at the mimics, because she is a mimic. And that's why Hannah knew about Liv, because they're the same. And, like, she's like, when I look at you, like, all I could see was, like, all your faces. But, like, now she's starting to lose that power. And basically what happens is when they become a person, they see and feel everything. So she saw like, one of her first memories, like being a kid. But she says as Hannah got older, her family basically crushed the joy out of her. And she says, we literally consume the person. She ate Hannah. Yeah. And that is why Hannah was sick the next morning and throwing up and sick, because she was becoming a new person. But she's like, I want to go back and tell her family, like, I'm done with them, and, like, do all the things that Hannah didn't get the chance to do, which Hannah would have got the chance to do if you didn't eat her. Right. And she's like, you know, the more I become her, like, the more of her powers I lose. But basically, like, they have to agree to let them take them. They have to, like, basically be like, I give up. Take me. So back with Devin, they make it to the river, and they're just, like, sitting, like, reflecting. And Devin feels like she knows Sheridan better than she's ever known anyone. Sheridan feels so guilty because she had picked on Hannah and basically was like, Hannah was already close to giving up, and then I literally stomped her down even more, and then she did. And Sheridan's like, you know, I wonder why they don't want to take me. Like, I've already tried. So she's basically tried to commit suicide. And she's like, I have given up a long time ago. And Sheridan's like, I don't want to go back, like, to the real world. And she says even when her sister was around, she felt like the leftovers, and she was like not a good student and all these things, but she could hide behind her sister. And then when her sister died, of course, she became like the main focus. They were like, oh, we have another daughter. And so then they saw her bad grades and all the things she did, and like the pressure was just too much. And this is when Devin said, like, she basically knows what the woods took from her, but whatever the woods took, Sheridan gave back. And they end up kissing again, and Sheridan, like, admits that Devin makes her happy. So I was kind of confused about this part. I didn't know when they got back to Ollie and them, but they end up going back to Ollie and Aiden and other Hannah. And Ollie basically is like, we need to come up with a plan and, like, lure the mimics here and try and take them out. And so they basically need one person to be, like, the bait. And Hannah's like, well, you don't have to wait long because there's some coming right now. So, like, they're all, like, hiding, basically, and, you know, Devin tells Sheridan, like, you know, go to your spot or whatever, but then Sheridan just, like, comes right back, and she's like, this is taking forever, and I'm like, no! Yeah. I was like, no! And Devin's like, what? And Sheridan's like, oh, I just missed you or whatever, and then she, like, sees, Sheridan has, like, purple in her hair, so she sees her kind of like moving from her actual spot, and she realizes that this is not the real Sheridan, but it's too late, and she literally gets knocked out. So Ollie is like watching like Aiden because he's the bait, and like his mom shows up. Then there's like this younger boy, which is, we know it's his friend, and then his dad shows up, and they're all basically trying to make Aiden like leave this camp, and Ollie's like, oh, they know that we're watching, basically. And then there's like 5 more mimics, and then they're being like swarmed. And he sees Devin, who says, like, you know, let's keep waiting. And he's like, we need to go. Like, there is so many of them. And she's like, no, like, let's just keep waiting. And he realizes at the same time as Sheridan comes, like, busting in, and she's like, that's not Devin. So all the mimics are basically chasing the body that they want. Hannah's gone. And he tries to get Aiden, but obviously his, like, ankle's messed up. And then Ollie's grandma attacks him. So Hannah comes back in, and she's able to get Aiden, who is like about to catch on fire, and she literally risks the fire to get him. And he's like, how did you get out? And she's like, I could have escaped that entire time. I was just letting you guys feel like you were doing something. And so he gets her, and she's fine, but then she ends up catching fire, and he just like closes his eyes because he can't watch, and she literally burns up. And now all versions of Hannah are gone. And so all the mimics flee because there was fire everywhere, and they realize that Devin is missing. And Sheridan and Aiden are okay, but Ollie, like, gets his head hit again. Like, it's not good. And they're like, oh, like, did Hannah escape? But Ollie has to tell them, like, no, she died. And Ollie's like, you know, I think we should go. I think, like, Devin's probably dead. Like, we need to go. And Sheridan's like, are you insane? She's like, absolutely not. She's like, Devin has saved us, like, 100 times. We are not leaving her. She would not leave us. We're not. So Devin wakes up in this cave, and the mimic has her. It looks like Mr. Atwood again, and he's like, this is my home. So she starts crawling away, and she's like, if you're going to look like him, like, you're definitely not going to get me to do it. And he, like, grabs her. He's, like, weird shaped. And he's like, I'm trying to be gentler with you than the other one, who was Ethan. He had Ethan for a long time and was trying to break Ethan down, and he couldn't. And she finds Ethan's body, like emaciated. He's dead. He's like, rigor has set in, but he never like gave in to the thing. And so now the mimic like turns into Ollie, but he's like being rude, and like Devin's like, Ollie would never talk to me like that. And she's like, why do you guys do this? And she's like, why would you want to be me? Like, nobody even wants me. So then the mimic turns into Sheridan, and she finds this lantern and like turns it on, and the mimic is like a snake like wrapped around her, but also like half of the face is Sheridan and then half of it's like messed up. And he's like, I've been following you this whole time. He keeps trying to say how nobody wants her, no one ever will want you, like all these things. And she starts to give in. She's like laying there, and he's like, it won't hurt. And that's what Hannah said, like, it didn't hurt. And so it like is real close to her, but then she hears Sheridan outside calling her name, and she wakes up and literally bites the mimic in the shoulder, and she just starts smashing it with the lantern. And so like it's trying to reform, but she has a lighter in her pocket, and she burns him as he like shifted back into Mr. Atwood, and Mr. Atwood is gone. So she goes out and she finds everyone else, and they like start heading towards the river, and they can feel like there's mimics all around them. But they get to the river, and like they're like, how are we gonna get across? But Sheridan's like, I got this. So this time she goes across. It's not like she gets everyone pulled across, and Ollie's the last one, and literally like the mimics are like crowding behind them, but they don't grab him, and like obviously they don't cross the river. And on the other side of the river, there was lights. And so Sheridan's like wheezing, like she's like bad off. She's like, you have to go. So Ollie runs, and it's literally like a family home, and they immediately call the police. And so we go forward 3 months. We're with Ollie. He's moving out of his dad's house. They got out on July 11th. So they were in there like 35 days or something like that. That's crazy. And he ended up being in the hospital a week before he even saw his dad. And then like his dad had came in and like held him, and like he had seemed different, but then immediately like went back to being a jerk. His grandma did die while he was gone. And every time he looks at his dad, like he just can see the mimic. Like that's all he can think of. And his dad's like, you look like you hate me, which he does, but also like that's why. And of course, no one believes anything that they said. They've been all over the news, and they're talking about how this like failed wilderness therapy like was terrible, and but they don't talk about like the kids told them everything, but they don't talk about that because they're like, that's crazy. They basically tell everyone like the kids are too traumatized to like talk to the public. And so he's like basically packed up, he's leaving, and he gets in the car, and Aiden calls him, and he talks to Aiden every day, but Aiden did go home to Montana, and obviously they're over in Portland. But he's moving in with Devin, and then Sheridan's going to be moving in with them. And Aiden had sent him this article that says on the news that they were still looking for Hannah, Ethan, and Liv. And they do mention like the story about like the monsters basically. And Aiden says how he misses Hannah, but then like he doesn't know how to feel because most of it wasn't even her. And her dad is literally on TV suing the company because of course you are. You don't even care about your daughter. And he's suing like because of the failed check-ins or whatever it was. I don't know. And they're planning on having like a surprise party because this is the day that like Sheridan is moving in. So we go to Devin, and she goes to Seattle to pick up Sheridan. And her mom answers the door, and she's like being really nice because Devin's like thought this was going to be like an issue, but she thanks Devin for keeping Sheridan alive, and Devin's like, she kept me alive too. And then like her dad comes out and is like, is this her basically? And then just like helps pack up stuff. And Sheridan comes out, and like her hair is purple again. And as they leave, like she tells Devin like she told her parents everything. And basically was like, I don't know if I'll stay sober if I don't go. And Sheridan just turned 18 too, so she's legal. But as they're driving, they're like Sheridan seems off, and so she's like, can you pull over? And Devin like automatically thinks she's gonna be like, take me home, I can't do this. And Sheridan's like, absolutely not. But she just like is this real? Like, is this how it's gonna be? So Devin like goes, and like they get all these snacks, and they go to like this cliff hangout, which is like surrounded by woods. And Sheridan's like, did you want to traumatize me again? But they just talk about like how it's gonna be. Like they're like, she's like, what if we argue? And they're like, we argue all the time anyways. And like, what if you hate me? Well, I hated you when I met you. Like, just kind of planning their lives. And that is the end. Da, da, da. So, what did you rate it?
I believe that I rated it 5 stars.
Okay. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoy it. I would not survive this. So
yeah, this book is literally my nightmare.
Like even without the monsters.
Yeah. Well, when I read it, I'm reading over my review, and it said that I stayed up all night to read it with the lights on, and there were so many moments that made my skin crawl, and moments I was downright terrified, which that was the moment that the monster the mimic was initially introduced, where his like face was so big that like wider than the tree, and like I remember slamming my book closed and being like, oh my god.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. I honestly was scared, and not in like, obviously this is a horror book, but not in the way of some of the other horror books that I've read. It was more so like, we don't know what's out in the woods sometimes. Like,
yes,
is this really, like, could this really happen?
Yes.
Yeah, and just me and the woods don't go together.
No.
And me and monsters don't go together either. So. No. Oh, and I put, word of warning, if something feels off about the woods, it probably is.
It probably is. Yeah. I already said I would not have survived even without monsters, and then the monsters would have took me out. Yeah, no, that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So I don't even play like that. Yeah, there's just absolutely no way. Like no, there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do we have reviews?
We do. So this one, 5 stars. Courtney Gould
We've got to figure out.
said we will need therapy. I'm so hyped. And it says edit. She was right. Jesus Christ, I'm unstable.
Oh, first time caller must have been a Libra because I have it.
Yes.
I didn't realize. I'm glad I looked.
And then let's go for a 1 star. Less than 1% of the ratings. This one says, I really could not get into this book. I read, and all I read about were teenagers that had misbehaved in school or at home and were sent unwillingly on a 50-day camping trip that was going to toughen them up or straighten them out or something else. I read and was so bored I gave up. I read some of the other reviews that had spoilers and found out there were actually monsters in the book. If the monsters that appeared sooner, maybe I would have been more engaged and finished the book, but it seemed too much of a sacrifice to keep reading about teenage squabbles and scavenger hunts and dangerous tasks to complete in this book. To each their own.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's some repetitive parts, but yeah.
I was scared.
I still enjoy it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our next one is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about it. It's a romance.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it either. I like the cover and the color palette.
It's cute. So we'll be reading that, and then Kingdom of Ash, which I'm so excited for.
Last one, right?
No, it is. Oh my gosh, we made it.
I get like, every time I'd finish a book, I'd be like, oh, I am so excited about this next one. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna go right into it, and then I'm like, no, nope. I'm not gonna go right into it. I need to space it out a bit, and then I'm like, I forget how hyped I am about starting the next book until like right before I start it.
Yeah, no, super excited. So, all right, that's all we have this week. So we will talk to you all next week. Bye. Bye.